What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 23 of the Hexagon Challenge here with New York City FC. And today I have for you guys the start of our second season here in New York. And actually, it's not technically the start because I have played a few games. The reason for that being is I wanted to get to a quite significant game today. And today we are actually going to be taking on Seattle Sounders, who previously won the Supporter Shield and finished top after the group and kind of league stages of last year's MLS season. Either way, obviously, new season, new players. Let's start with the transfers, and there's been a fair few. A few on the ins, a few on the outs. I fell into kind of the trap I've fallen into a few times, really, in this save, especially being in America, where I take on a few too many players, and then I have to leave out some of the players I've brought from our kind of squad, and so as a result, they are put on the waivers, and they are, well, they're given away by us to other MLS sides, but we'll cover them as we get to them. First and foremost, I want to talk about some of the outs. The first one, Javi Munoz left us for $3 million to Apoel. I think we dodged a bullet here. I'm going to be honest. We signed him in last summer, really. He joined us. Of course, he joined with a broken leg, which he'd suffered at Real Madrid? Was it Real Madrid he was at before us? I'm pretty sure it was. It was Real Madrid. So he joined us with his broken leg, and he never made an appearance for us. And well, I was a little bit disappointed by that, I guess, and the fact that he never played for us. But then we got a £3 million offer from Apoel in Cyprus, and I just decided to go and get rid of him, really. You can see 6 games played for Apoel, only a 6.3 rating, and well, I mentioned we dodged a bullet. That bullet it seems like a pretty big one right now. He's out with a hip injury now for 5 to 6 months. So to get $3 million for him, I think is a fantastic kind of sale, really, for Javi Munoz, and perhaps the best business we've done so far this year. Anyway, the next player on the outs, Michael Ulate, the Costa Rican, left us for $1 million, joined us on a free in the summer, played 2 games, we made some good money off him, that was pretty decent in the end. A few players we waived, I should say, it's not wavered, it's waived, during the waivers. We'll talk about them because they did come in. There was also a few more players who left who we waived, or waived, I'll get there eventually, including Guzan, who of course last year and last episode was kind of responsible for us losing a season's worth of work, if we're being honest. So he has left us. Anyway, let's move on to the ins. A few players who you will recognise, the likes of Adara Bayoyo, rejoins us on loan, the young English centre-back. Delighted to have him back at the club. Alan Sonora, I guess that is, also joined us, an American youngster from Boca Juniors, on loan for the year. A pretty good loanee, if I'm being honest. A few other players we picked up, we drafted Aaron Castro here, and in fact he was the only player we drafted across both drafts. Last year I gave up quite a few of my draft picks in favour of kind of, well, basically getting some money in and getting some players in. As a result, this was the only player we ended up drafting. He's a nifty winger out on the left-hand side, but don't expect to see him too much in the first team. As I mentioned, a few players who we signed and then let go immediately. Jose Angel was one of these players we brought in, had the intention of playing him, and, well, he came in over the cap and we had to give him up. Same with Milanovic. I feel a little bit bad for these guys, I guess, having signed them and then sent them home. One of the loanees who we brought in and then didn't send home, however, was this guy. I guess it's Scott Greaterix, or Greaterix. Answers on a postcard. Belgian viewers, you can probably tell me. I feel like it's Greaterix. I mean, it sounds like a great name, if I'm being honest. Here we have him, though, Scott. Youngster from Chelsea, good centre mid, very athletic, very good vision as well. Lovely player to have on the bench. We also completed the signing of Martin Del Palacio Langer, or I don't know, answers on the postcard again. I know I have some Mexican viewers, please show your heads, or just any kind of Latin speaking viewers, because I believe most pronunciations are fairly similar. But this guy, great player, really. 20 years old, joined us on a free. One of our big earners at the club, comes in on the senior wage kind of max of $388,000, but a good player to get in on a free, very young as well, hopefully he can develop. We also signed Mohamed Mara here, just a good winger, can play either wing as well, the young Guinean. We signed him in the end for $350,000, pretty hefty fee paid there, really. The next player, a player who I bought and then realised was a mistake and let go, Sean Barry. I actually spent a lot of money to bring him in, $275,000, and then I waived him immediately. Waste of money, really. Can only apologise to you guys who want me to be a shrewd kind of spender. And actually, there's a few more players who fall into a similar mould. First one here, Edgar Castillo. We signed and then gave away. We only lost $58,000 on him. Bit of a shame, really. He's now gone to play in South Korea, curiously. We also had Efete, I guess that's how you'd say his name, the Congolese player. A player who I brought in and his wages were just too much. and $38,000 a year, and just contributed way too much to the wage cap. And, well, we had to make some tough decisions, and he was one of the players we ended up letting go. Anyway, another player we brought in, Michael Keane here, we have kept him. Young American, signed him relatively cheap from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Really low wage demands, $70,000. I need some more players like this guy, and we've got a lot more of those players, as you'll see in just a second. Kevin McCauley here, similar player, young American right back, low wage demands. We need more of these players. I guess my habit and kind of the pit I guess I fell into last year was I brought in a load of first team players, not really thinking about the wage cap and the fact we do have to limit our spending on wages, and as a result it kind of put me in a tricky situation in terms of the size of the squad. So I have brought in a lot more kind of backup fringe players here, and actually you're going to see a few from Waitakere right here. The first one we have, Alberto Patino. This guy, good player, American, played a lot for the under-20s team, can play centre attacking mid or on either wing, 19 years old, a player who actually joined Waitakere just as we were leaving, so we didn't actually ever experience this guy, but he joined us now. Great player to get in. Another player we have is James Bigay, a fantastic athlete, this guy, a crazily fast centre defensive mid, very young as well, only 19, and as much as we gave up our draft picks, of course, and only had that one pick, you've got to consider the fact these players we've signed from Waitakere are essentially draft picks. They're players who would have been drafted into MLS had I not signed them in the first place to New Zealand. So, you know, these players, they're essentially draft picks, really. The last of the Waitakere signings, Josh Noto, a player who we are familiar with, got 16 goals during our last season at Waitakere. A very good player. Like the look of him, 20 years old, fast kind of attacking midfielder and striker. Just a useful player to have, really. The last signing we made, Sergio Pena, joining us from Granada B for $55,000. A really good signing, the Peruvian here. He's on pretty large wages, but for a 24-year-old who can play a variety of positions, despite not being perhaps the most intelligent footballer in the world, I think he's a good signing to have. Adds a lot to our squad in terms of depth and also quality. And again, I like his combination of speed, vision and technical ability. It's something that really shines through with this guy, and I'm hoping that, well, he can have an impact for us this year. So those are the transfers which have happened so far. There are some that are ongoing, and actually we have a massive signing, or sale I guess I should say really, going on the out, and that is Eduardo Zapata. We've sold him to Cruz Azul. The 20-year-old Costa Rican will be leaving in the summer to join the Mexican side, and well, on the face of it, you might be thinking, Jack, you're mental. You've just sold a 20-year-old prodigy here. Fantastic player, low wage demands. He's only valued at $3.2 million. How much did you get for him? Well, we got $8.5 million for him, which is a record MLS sale. I believe in real life, Altador is the current holder of kind of record sale at $8 million. This guy becomes the most expensive export ever from MLS. Of course, we will get 66% of that fee. That is $6 million. And that's going to help a lot with kind of rebuilding the team and hopefully bringing in some young Americans. Anyway, on to the end. So first one we'll talk about here, Anthony Walter here. Good player. He plays for the Football Federation of Australia's Centre of Excellence. It's FFO, or FFA COE. That's the team's name. They were formerly known as the Australian Institute of Sport in Football Manager. If you've never seen this team before, please go to it in your save, particularly if you have Australia loaded, but even if you don't, go check it out. They always produce amazing young players, and you'll see with the not with the Hexagon, with the Gibraltar save, which I've recorded ahead with, I do pick up a few players from this team, and they're a team I always go and check because of a few years ago where I picked up a really good young Australian. I believe I was in League One at the time, but they've got extensive youth recruitment, superb youth facilities. Can't recommend them enough. Definitely produce some of the best young Australian regions. If you do check them in your own save, having seen this, let me know if you found anyone amazing at the club. Now, you're not immediately always going to get good players, and I can't guarantee they'll be good players, but I mean, this guy, 17 years old, Australian, looks incredible. Not joining us for a little while, however, joined us next year in February. But nevertheless, 17 years old, 15 caps for Australia too. That is pretty exciting. The next player, a big name as well, Romagna, joins us from Juventus. He's going to be joining us in the summer. A very good player to get, the 22-year-old Italian, an incredible centre-back. I can't believe we've managed to snap him up. I have got a little bit of a concern when it comes to our squad registration and signing all these players because of the international player slots. But with Zapata going out in July and these signings not coming through until, well, slightly later than that. I think Zapata actually goes out in June. I'm going to check this now. Yeah, he goes out midway through June. These signings happen in July. I'm going to hopefully try and buy some international player slots with, of course, the money we receive for Zapata leaving. Anyway, the next player we brought in, or are trying to bring in, Dan Richards. He is joining us. An American goalkeeper. We need a bit of backup. He's joining us from Waitakere at the end of his contract. Currently out injured. With Guzan going out, Cesar Leon picking up the mantle, really, the young American goalkeeper. A player who, throughout last year, moaned about lack of first-team football. He now is our first-choice keeper with the absence of Guzan. And, well, he's got big shoes to fill. He's not a crazily good goalkeeper. But, I mean, he can't cock up much more than Guzan did in last episode's final. Anyway, the next few signings we have here John Requillo, I guess is how you'd say his name. An American player, 23 years old, coming in on very low wages, can play left back, which is where we're going to primarily deploy him. Just a really good left back to get in, if I'm honest. He joins us from the Mexican side, joining us on a free at the end of his contract. For some reason, I couldn't do the transfer option to buy him now. Now, I don't know why that was. I'm guessing one of you guys probably knows. If you want to let me know, please do. The next player we have, Tim Ream joins us, an American centre-back, an experienced player too. Fulham letting him go at the end of his contract. 32 years old, perhaps his best years behind him, but I think in terms of adding some really good quality to our team, this guy is going to be a good player for us. Joins us on a senior contract on $383,000 a year, but a good player, a very good player, and he's American as well, which is very, very nice. Anyway, a few players that you might recognise here. The first one, Sheyi Ojo, joining us. I need a left winger to replace Zapata when he leaves us in the summer. This guy's going to be the man we look to. Sheyi Ojo, a player who, if you watch my FM15 Lewis save, you'll be familiar with this guy. A very good winger, really. 22 years old, joins us at the end of his contract from Liverpool. Another player we have joining us is Paddy McNair, of course. Quite well-known, I guess, footballer, really. He's played a fair bit for United this year and a little bit last year, if I'm not mistaken. The Northern Ireland international, a very, very good centre-back. A good, kind of well-rounded centre-back as well. Can play centre-mid, which is nice. And yeah, as I said, he's quite well-rounded. You know, he's not one of these kind of defenders where they're good in the air, they're good mentally, physically strong, defensively good, and they're fast, and they can't do anything else. This guy, you know, he has a good first touch. He can pass. He's got a bit of composure. Definitely can deploy him as more than just kind of that limited defender, and happy to get him in as well alongside Romagna, Ream and Requillo. We're going to have some good centre-backs. As I mentioned, I'm a little bit concerned about the registration issue and the fact we might have to waiver some players, or wait, is it waiver? It's not waiver. Waive some players. I think that's what it is. If I've got that wrong, I'm sorry. I'm going to write it down on a post-it note, stick it on my monitor so I don't get it wrong. But because these players are all joining on frees, I'm not too worried about having to waive them. Because at the end of the day, I've paid nothing for them. The only issue is they're not joining the side. Anyway, the last player we have signed on a pre-contract, Gustavo. I guess this is Hebling, but I feel like that's not right at all. What's his nationality? Brazilian. Maybe it is Hebling then. This guy, he's in a Brazilian international. He's not, that's a lie. He's just a good Brazilian. We signed him from PSG. I've not seen him emerge on saves before. You can see in real life he starts at PSG and then went to SC Vol. I think that's how you say that anymore. It's PEC Vol anyway. But you can see he's been on loan a number of times. A few times to kind of top-flight Brazilian sides. We're going to get him at the end of his contract. 23 years old. Very, very exciting player. Relatively low wage demands as well. You will notice from all these signings, and I appreciate I've been rambling for 13 minutes here, but I want to keep you guys in the loop with what's been going on. We've not got a designated player. Jack, where are the designated players? Why are you not getting anyone who's a designated player? Let me tell you now. I'm kind of sitting hoping that one of these players ends up getting released or wants to join me. I tried to get Cristiano Ronaldo, wasn't having any of it. I tried, guys. The dream was almost real. I have talked to Pastore and he was actually quite willing to actually have contract talks. His wage demands, though, just a little bit too high for my liking, really. So we're going to sit and wait. None of these players particularly jump out at me, if I'm being honest. Mario Götze or this guy, I guess it's Givano. A good player, I guess, the Brazilian left winger. They're the two players who I'd particularly like to sign. Neither of them have been kind of signed to new contracts by their current clubs, and no other teams have come in for them just yet. So as they get closer to the end of their contract, and then if they get released and still don't kind of get any offers, they're going to be more likely and more interested to talk to us, and then maybe we can try and snap them up. You can see, looking at it here, I've been scouting a lot of players, trying to search for this designated player of my dreams. There's been some players I've talked to, but nothing's kind of coming to kind of being just yet. You can see players like Paddy McNair, Ojo and Romagna I found through a similar thing, just looking for them with their contracts expiring. So anyway, that is what's been going on at the club. I feel like I've talked a lot this episode, but there's just so much to go through. If we look at the team, sticking with the 4-2-3-1, we were getting it right the first time. In goal, as I mentioned, we're going to stick with Leon this year. For today's game, we go with Rojas at left back. He's an okay player. He's a permanent player. He was here when we first joined. He's our first choice left back at the moment, but we have got some players potentially joining in the summer who might take his place. Right back for this game, we're going with Kevin McCauley, one of the players we picked up on the cheap from Middlesbrough. The reason for that being is we have got a few players on international duty. Robles is currently out on international duty, which is a shame. He would normally be our first choice right back. We're also without Mutobo, who is our first choice left back, actually. In fact, no, he's our first choice right back. Robles is kind of our resourceful player on the bench, but to have both of our first and second choice right backs out on international duty is annoying. We also have Zapata out, although not too annoyed about this one because we do need to get used to not having him in the team and see what we can do without him. So anyway, team for today's game, we've gone over the fullbacks and goalkeeper. In the centre of defence, same as last year, Philip Foos, the 19-year-old American. Alongside him, Adara Bayoyo. Really like this pairing. Of course, we have got some new centre-backs going to be joining us. I might waiver a few of them. I need to work out the squad balance once the new players are in. But, you know, there's no harm with bringing in all these extra players and then potentially having to give a few up, at least in my opinion. Anyway, look at the rest of the team. Centre mids for today's game, we go with Rabiot and Diaz. The reason we go for Rabiot and Diaz is just because I kind of rate these guys as our kind of best two players in the centre mid position. Diaz, a very good deep line playmaker. Rabiot, a very good defensive midfielder. We also have Leroy Fer, of course, and we also have Greaterix as well. The reason neither of those make the side really is because if with Leroy Fer, I don't feel like he excels defensively, and then I don't feel like he's an absolutely incredible playmaker. Don't get me wrong, he's not a bad one, but there's something about Diaz. Diaz has been playing well, a 7.64 average rating for him, so he gets a spot on the side. Greaterix, just a very good backup player more than anything. Anyway, looking up into the more attacking positions. On the left wing for today's game, we go with Alberto Patino, one of the players we signed, of course, from Waitakere United. Right-footed, playing on the left wing. A little bit questionable, but we'll make do with him there. Out on the right midfield, we go with Sergio Pena, the Peruvian, who we signed relatively cheaply this year from Granada B. Centre attacking mid, we go with Del Palacio Longa, the Mexican. Very good player. I'm surprised he's only got 2 under 20 caps. I'm hoping he's going to get some more with him playing regular first-team football for us. And then, of course, up front, we go with our designated player, the player who missed the penalty, of course, at the end of last episode to forfeit the MLS Cup, Seydou Doumbia. I'm hoping he's going to make amends this year. So that's the team we've got for today's game. Just to quickly blast over the fixtures we have played, because as I mentioned, we did miss a few at the start. First game of the year, we beat Real Salt Lake 3-0. Sergio Doumbia, why am I calling him Sergio? That's another one of our players. That's Pena. Seydou Doumbia getting a hat-trick. Delighted for him. That was a good way to start the year. Next two results, a little bit disappointing. I guess the 1-1 draw against the Galaxy, not too bad. Worth noting, Alberto Patino came on off the bench in this game and grabbed us an equaliser. It was a really nice goal as well. A half-cleared corner which he tucked away. Next game was another draw, this time 0-0. Very boring. Roger Espinoza sent off for Sporting Kansas 2. Was really disappointed we didn't capitalise more on that. You can see, looking at the stats, probably had a little bit more of the game. The fact that their centre-back got man of the match really tells you a lot about how this game went. Definitely could have been a win. It wasn't, though. We didn't score. And, well, you can't win if you don't score in football, funnily enough. Anyway, the last result we had was against Portland Timbers. 2-0 win. Zapata and an own goal right there. Zapata getting man of the match. You know, I go on about this $8.5 million that we're getting for him. I mean, we might miss him. We've got Shea Ojo, of course, coming into the team. Either way, this is the team we're going to go with. We've run through it. A few players out, which is a bit of a shame. Still not 100% set on what my best 11 is. If we look at the Sounders team, they've got Emenike up front. Definitely the player who stands out. They've got Alonso as well, who's a good defensive midfielder. I believe I want to say he's Cuban, but that might be wrong. He is Cuban, look. I do know something about American football, apparently. And I mean that as in American soccer rather than American football. I will, of course, though, be watching the Super Bowl tomorrow. Anyway, let's get on to the team talk right now. Going to just praise the players. I want them to go out there and give a good performance. The reason I'm doing this game against the Sounders is, well, because, well, last episode and last season, they finished top of the MLS kind of league and the conferences combined. It's the Supporters' Shield. That is what I'm trying to say. They won that. So we go into this game, you know, trying to, I guess, poop on their parade. We don't want them to win it for a second year in a row. We want to be the team who do better, and we've had a good start so far. We're unbeaten in our first 4, perhaps to draw 2 a little bit disappointing, but we're on the attack here. Patino kicks it straight at his man Foos, though. Nice play there. He's going to have to be on his best behaviour and his best game to deal with Emenike up front, who could be a handful. Either way, we're on the attack here. Doumbia, players on the overlap. Doumbia goes for a very ambitious effort there. That was incredibly ambitious. Keeper holds on to it, and well, the ball is still here. Adara Bayo, Del Palacio Lange probably should score there. An interesting chance, a weird one that kind of emerged out of nothing. A quick counter-attack, really. But it was squandered. But we are on the attack here. Patino, Delange lays it off to Penna, the Peruvian. Can he whip in a ball? He can, and Delange this time does make the goal. I feel like Delange sounds way too French. I think it's Delanga. We'll go with that. Del Palacio. Maybe I should just call him Del Boy. That might be an alternative nickname, I guess. Either way, Del Boy with the goal. It's 1-0 here. It's been a really good start to the game too. Penna, the Peruvian, a player who, as I mentioned, can play a few positions, out on the right today. Nice ball in. I thought Doumbia was going to be the man to finish it, but the Mexican emerges from nowhere. And, well, he scores. And it was easy, really. And looking at the stats, we've been very, very good so far. Although, I guess with Emenike up front, you know, well, really, Sounders can score out of absolutely nothing. And we're going to have to be on our best behaviour and just switched on throughout. And, well, they are on the attack here. Adair bringing the ball forward. Now with Duval. Adair. Thomas gives it to Rojas. Now Patino. I feel like we've got a lot of Spanish players and a lot of foreign players. It's worth noting, of course, we have got 12 international player slots. If you don't know how that works, I believe when MLS first introduced the international player slots, every team was given 8, and they can trade them, they can sell them, they can do whatever they want with them. We've bought a few since I came in because I want to not use loads of American players, if I'm being honest. We have 12 non-Americans. And I guess that's why we don't have the English-speaking side. Well, I've been rambling on here. Emenike has scored. I mean, I said it was probably going to happen and we were going to have to watch out for him because he is a very, very good striker in this division. So perhaps a little bit disappointing to concede right there, but we'll see how we can bounce back from this. Still, Seattle, I want to say they've not been as good as us, but I mean, the scoreline doesn't reflect that. We need to take the chances. You know, we have to make all the other stats relevant by, well, getting it ahead if we can. And Patino going to have a chance here. Whips in Doumbia, lovely ball, and he hits the post there. Doumbia getting that hat-trick on the first day of the season, which was a great way to bounce back from his penalty miss in last episode's final. However, since then, I don't believe he's scored. He's looking for that goal in. Well, he needs to get his shooting boots on. And I'll tell you what, our players need to get their running shoes on because they need to get back here. The corner, counter-attack, Papa with the effort, blocked away. That was a clear-cut chance for Seattle Sounders, but, well, we get a little bit lucky, and, well, the ball has to be cleared off the line there. We really are riding our luck at this point. Seattle definitely getting more into this game. Still difficult to argue against us not deserving at least a draw at half-time, but I mean, you look at the stats, you look at the performances, really Penna and Lange are the only two players who have really been standing out for us. It's been a pretty disappointing first half. I'm going to tell the players I'm far from pleased. Penna, you've played well. Let me encourage him. Let me encourage him. Right, he's still demotivated. Well, that's not gone well. It's gone well for everyone else. I feel a little bit harsh telling him he's not been good enough because he supplied the goal for us. Either way, though, we're going to have to see if that team talk is going to galvanise our team here in the second half. If we could get a win here, that'd be good. We are at home, so perhaps I expect us to. And, well, they have a chance. It's not in yet. Oh, how has that gone in? How has that gone in? I'm looking. I don't want to watch this in 3D, but at the same time, I mean, okay. Cleared off the line once. Saved off the line. A great save. Kicked by one of our... What are you doing, Penna and McCauley? You traitors. Traitors. I mean, it's a great own goal. Penna with the assist. I think it was McCauley with the finish. Now we have our own corner. Adara Bayo cleared away. Doumbia, Diaz. Penna now. Can you whip in a ball? He can. Patino has a shot. It's saved nicely, though. And, well, Patino, he scored on his debut for the club on off the bench against LA Galaxy. He almost had another goal to add to his scrapbook right there, but this time it was saved away. And I still feel unlucky. I still feel unlucky. I feel like I can't use that as an excuse anymore. I mean, the last episode of last season, I mean, I could sit there and be like, we were really unlucky. But the reality of the situation was we hit the woodwork so many times and didn't take our chances. We are going to make a change here. I'm going to bring in Josh Noto into the side, the Waitakere kind of player, or former player, I guess, now. Doumbia, not at the best day at the office. I've not got Hernandez on the bench for some reason, which I'm not sure why that's the case. Because he really should be on the bench because he's our second best striker. But either way, Josh Noto, I'm putting faith in you to try and get us a goal here to make a difference. He's a fast player. We're going to look to that from him today. But first and foremost, we need to defend here. Manzo bringing the ball forward, shoots. It's a nice finish by Seattle Sounders. You've got to say, they've taken the chances that have come our way, and that is something we've not done. They had that scrappy second goal, Emenike with a quite typical finish from him to open the scoring for the Sounders here. But I mean, the keeper should perhaps do a little bit better, and I guess that is something that we might experience this year, as defensively, we're not going to be that great. And I say that off the back of 3 clean sheets in our first 4. I do think the players we've had away on international duty has perhaps hurt us a little bit here. But at the same time, it's just been a little bit so-so, I guess. I feel like until the summer, where we have, you know, some of our new additions at fullback, new centre-backs coming in, it might be a little bit of a struggle defensively. We've not had any issues really scoring goals. And I mean, I talk as if we've lost. We've now got a penalty. Alonso, the Cuban, giving us perhaps a lifeline here. Number 8, who is it who's stepping up for us? I'm trying to think who I've got on penalties. It's going to be Penna, who smashes it down the middle. He doesn't make the mistake Doumbia made last episode and last season. I'm never going to forget that Doumbia. Whenever I see his face, you know, now he's on loan at Newcastle, I'm just going to imagine that penalty miss. That's all I'm going to be able to see. Either way, I've talked as if this game's over. It's not over. We just have to roll the dice right now and go on the attack, really. We've got, what, 4 minutes to try and get a goal? I mean, it's doable, isn't it? Let's see what we can do here. We're going to go on the attack. We're going to go on the offensive. Let's hit early crosses. Let's pump the ball into the box. Higher tempo. Close down a lot. As direct as possible. We're just going to go for it. We've got 4 minutes to try and get a goal. We can't do anything more than what we've done now. Unfortunately, not going to be enough here. And in fact, I thought Adara Bayoyo was about to get sent off there. Fortunately not. He will be available for the next game. But, well, I guess rather unfortunately, we're going to lose this game 2-1. And it's just not good enough. It's a game where, statistically, we've not been any worse than they were. I mean, you look at the league. They've won 5 out of 5 now, Seattle, which was another reason why I wanted to do this game. We were unbeaten as well. We lose that unbeaten run. Worth noting, Philadelphia, top of our conference. Of course, we beat them, I think it was 7-1 in the playoffs last year. I'm hoping, you know, we can start to catch up with them and start to, you know, narrow the gap. Either way, Montreal are going to be the next game. In terms of when we'll be back for the next episode, I'm not entirely sure. Of course, with this Hexagon Challenge series, I like to keep the episodes fairly spaced out just because, well, there's a lot of matches to play and a lot to get through. I think the next time we might be back might be for the Philadelphia game. That is going to be at the start of May. If not, we might go a little bit deeper into this run-in, maybe even play the last game before the winter break, or not the winter break, sorry, the summer break. But actually, I'm looking at it here. Is there not a summer break this year because there's no major international tournament? Is that how it works in MLS? If there's no major international tournament, there's no break? That must be how it works. Anyway, I don't know why I'm rambling like this. You guys can send me answers on postcards down in the comments. Either way, this has been a slightly longer episode. Didn't really want it to be this long, but just a lot to cover in terms of the signings, what's been going on. Disappointing result. I mean, I look at our team here. It's all about scoring goals and being dominant in the midfield and hoping that can alleviate some of the pressure off our defence, at least until the summer. I'm going to be keeping my eye out for a potential goalkeeper as well, because we definitely need one. But yeah, that's going to be all from me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. I appreciate you guys who are watching the Hexagon Challenge series regularly. Appreciate the Apex save isn't everyone's cup of tea, although that is, of course, kind of the main save, I guess, at the moment. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash the like button. It does greatly help me out. If you've got any comments, pronunciations, team ideas, anything like that, you know, get them down in the comments. I am reading them, particularly if it's useful stuff for me about MLS. And other than that, it is going to be me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.